First contact fallout. The Hegemony Council station hung in the void like a massive crystalline spider, its 8 great arms extending from a central hub that glowed with the light of artificial suns. Captain Mira Chen gazed at it through the viewport of the UES Pathfinder, humanity's first diplomatic vessel equipped with the newly developed Alcubierre drive. After decades of theoretical work, humans had finally achieved faster-than-light travel 5 years ago. Now they were ready to join the galactic community. "Quite the statement piece, isn't it?" remarked Commander Elijah Kane, standing at her side. "They certainly want to make an impression." Mira nodded, her expression carefully neutral despite the mixture of excitement and apprehension churning in her stomach. "That's what we're doing too, Eli. First impressions matter." As Earth's chosen representative, Mira carried the hopes and dreams of humanity on her shoulders. Selected for her diplomatic experience, scientific background, and unflappable demeanor, she was the perfect ambassador for a species taking its first tentative steps into a much larger universe. "Final approach clearance granted," announced the communications officer. "They're transmitting docking protocols." Mira straightened her midnight blue uniform, its silver trim catching the light. "Remember everyone, we represent all of Earth today. Let's show them humanity at its best." The Pathfinder glided into one of the station's massive docking bays, a small fish entering the mouth of a leviathan. As the airlock cycled, Mira stood tall, flanked by her team of 5 scientists, linguists, and military officers, each chosen for this historic moment. "Captain Chen," came a melodious voice as the doors parted. "I am Blazon Thrix. I welcome you to the central hub of the galactic hegemony." Thrix was humanoid but clearly alien, tall and willowy with iridescent skin that shifted colors with each movement. 4 arms extended in what appeared to be a ceremonial greeting gesture. "Liaison Thrix," Mira bowed slightly. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we thank you for this welcome. The Council of 7 awaits. They are curious about your species." As they walked through vast corridors of impossible architecture, spaces that seemed to bend and flow in defiance of Euclidean geometry, Mira observed other alien species. Some acknowledged the human delegation with equivalents of nods or bows. Others turned away or made gestures her translators couldn't interpret. "Your species achieved faster-than-light travel remarkably quickly," Thrix commented. "Most species require thousands of years after achieving industrial technology. You managed it in less than 3 centuries. Humans are adaptable." Mira replied carefully. "We build upon knowledge rapidly." "Yes," said Thrix, the color of their skin darkening slightly. "The Council has noted this with interest." The grand chamber of the Council of 7 was a massive amphitheater, with 7 enormous thrones arranged in a semicircle. Each was occupied by a representative of the founding species of the hegemony, ancient civilizations that had been spacefaring when humans were still figuring out agriculture. High Consul Vorax of the Draketh dominated the central position, reptilian and massive, with scales that gleamed like oil on water and eyes that burned with intelligence. He inclined his head fractionally as Mira approached the speaking dais. "Captain Mira Chen of Earth," Vorax's voice rumbled through the chamber, translated perfectly through the advanced technology embedded in Mira's earpiece. "You stand before the Council of 7, rulers of the galactic hegemony for 12,000 years. State your purpose." Mira stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. "Honorable Council, I come representing Earth and humanity. We seek peaceful integration into the galactic community. We offer friendship, knowledge exchange, and mutual cooperation." A ripple of something, amusement, disdain, passed through the council. "Knowledge exchange?" asked a counselor to Vorax's right, an entity composed of what appeared to be floating globules of viscous liquid held together by an energy field. "What knowledge could your infant species possibly offer?" Mira had prepared for this. "While we may be young compared to your esteemed civilizations, humans bring fresh perspectives. Our rapid development has fostered unique solutions to universal problems. Additionally, our world has rare biological diversity that may be of scientific interest. And what of your military capabilities? Asked another counselor, this one appearing as a tall insectoid being with compound eyes that refracted light into rainbow patterns. Our observers noted your species concerning preoccupation with weaponry. Earth maintains defensive capabilities, as I imagine all sovereign worlds do. Mira replied diplomatically, but we come seeking peace, not conflict. Vorax leaned forward, his massive clawed hands gripping the arms of his throne. Peace is maintained through order, Captain Chen. Order requires hierarchy. Do humans understand their place in the greater order of things? Something in his tone made Mira's internal alarms flare. This was not the welcome she had expected. We understand that as newcomers, we have much to learn. But we also believe in equality and mutual respect among sentient beings. A low hiss escaped Vorax's jaws. Bold words from a species that has barely left its cradle. The audience lasted another hour, with each counselor questioning Mira about Earth, its resources, population, military, and governance. She answered truthfully, but carefully, increasingly aware that this was less a diplomatic welcome and more an interrogation. When finally dismissed, Mira and her team were escorted to assigned quarters within the station. The accommodations were luxurious, but felt oddly sterile. That went well, Commander Kane said sarcastically once they were alone, and had swept for listening devices. They're afraid of us, Mira replied, staring out at the stars. Did you notice the questions? The tone. They see us as a threat. Why? We're technologically centuries behind them. But we got here too quickly. We're advancing at a rate that scares them. Mira turned to face her team. Tomorrow, we need to demonstrate that we're not a threat while still maintaining our dignity. It's a delicate balance. That night, as the others slept, Mira noticed a slight shimmer in the air near her quarters entrance. Years of intuition and survival instinct made her reach for the concealed neural recorder in her nightstand, a device that would capture and transmit her brainwave patterns, memories, and sensory input directly to the Pathfinder's secure systems. The door slid open silently. 3 figures entered, not Thrix or any species she recognized from the station. They moved with predatory grace, carrying what were unmistakably weapons. Captain Chen, one said, its voice a harsh whisper. You will come with us quietly. What is the meaning of this? She demanded, activating the neural recorder with a practiced thought pattern. I am a diplomatic representative. Your presence has been requested for a special session of the Council. Now, Mira understood then that this was no legitimate diplomatic summons, but she also knew that resistance would endanger her team. She nodded once and followed. Instead of the Grand Council chamber, she was led to a smaller, darker room. Only Vorax and 2 other counselors were present. Behind them stood a transparent chamber, a tube large enough to hold a human. What is this? Mira asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Vorax rose to his full 3-meter height. This, Captain Chen, is the truth of your position. We have accessed your vessel's database. We know of your species' violent history, your rapid weapons development, your resource consumption. You represent an unchecked variable in our ordered galaxy. You violated a diplomatic vessel. Mira's outrage was genuine. That's an act of aggression against Earth. Earth, Vorax spat the word, is nothing. A speck. Your kind achieved star travel far too soon, before you learned proper humility. One of the counselors stepped forward. The Drucketh encountered another species like yours, millennia ago. They advanced too quickly, questioned too much. Within a century, they had challenged the established order. War followed. Billions died. So this is about maintaining your power, Mira realized aloud, keeping younger species subservient. It is about peace, Vorax countered. Peace that has lasted 12,000 years. Peace your kind threatens merely by existing as you are. The guards moved forward, grasping Mira's arms. The council has ruled, Vorax announced. For the safety of the galaxy, humanity must be contained. You, as their representative, will serve as the necessary message. As they forced her toward the transparent chamber, Mira activated her neural transmitter's emergency protocol. Every sensation, every word, every image would be streamed directly to Earth via the quantum entanglement communicator hidden within the Pathfinder. "This is a mistake," she said clearly, wanting her words preserved. "Humanity comes in peace, but we do not suffer tyranny. We do not bow to threats. What you do here today will have consequences." Empty words from a dying species, Vorax dismissed her warning. After today, humanity will understand submission or face extinction. The chamber sealed around her. A faint hum began to build as energy fields activated. Mira stood tall, facing Vorax directly. "You should know," she said, her voice amplified by the chamber. "Everything happening right now is being transmitted to Earth. My neural recorder has been active since your agents entered my quarters. My people are witnessing this." For the first time, uncertainty flickered in Vorax's reptilian eyes. "Earth will remember," Mira said with quiet dignity as the energy field intensified around her. Blinding light filled the chamber. Pain beyond description engulfed her. In her final conscious moments, Captain Mira Chen took satisfaction in knowing her death would not be meaningless. On the Pathfinder, Commander Elijah Kane watched in horror as Mira's neural feed transmitted her execution in vivid, terrible detail. When it ended, his face hardened into a mask of cold fury. "Prepare for emergency departure," he ordered. "Purge all non-essential systems. They'll be coming for us next." "Sir," the communications officer's voice broke. "What about the captain?" Kane's eyes were flint. "Send everything to Earth. All of it. Then encrypt our systems and prepare to run." Within minutes, alarms blared throughout the station. The Pathfinder broke free of its docking clamps, engines flaring as it accelerated away. Hegemony vessels scrambled to pursue, but the human ship's desperation-fueled maneuvers kept it just ahead until it reached the jump point. As the Pathfinder disappeared into FTL, Commander Kane sent one final message to Earth. "Captain Chen is dead. Murdered by the Council. Full neural recording transmitted. Recommend immediate implementation of Protocol Nemesis." On Earth, in the secure chamber of the Unified Defense Command, military and political leaders watched in stunned silence as the recording of Mira's execution played. When it ended, the Secretary General rose slowly to her feet. "They've made their position clear," she said, her voice like ice. "Activate Protocol Nemesis. Effective immediately." Around the table, faces grim with resolve, the leadership of humanity prepared for war. Reckoning. For 6 months after Captain Chen's execution, the galaxy heard nothing from Earth. The Hegemony Council declared victory, announcing to all member worlds that the dangerous human threat had been contained. High Consul Vorax personally assured the General Assembly that humanity had learned its place in the cosmic order. A primitive species, he proclaimed, properly chastened. But in the dark between stars, the Hegemony's long-range monitoring stations began to go silent. One by one, like candles being methodically extinguished, outposts on the fringes of Council space ceased all communications. Investigation ships disappeared without trace. Entire monitoring networks collapsed overnight. On the Hegemony throne world of Drovor, Vorax received increasingly disturbing reports. "Explain this," he demanded of his military advisors, throwing a data tablet across the chamber. 57 outposts silent in the sector bordering human space. "Technical malfunctions, perhaps," suggested one advisor, "or pirate activity." Across such distances, simultaneously, Vorax's scales darkened with rage. "Do not insult my intelligence." The truth arrived 3 days later, in the form of a simple transmission broadcast on all Hegemony frequencies. It showed Captain Mira Chen standing at a diplomatic podium, clearly archival footage from before her execution, speaking with passion about cooperation and peaceful exchange. The image froze, then dissolved into the recording of her final moments in the death chamber, her dignified face as the energy fields consumed her, her final words. Earth will remember. The recording cut to a new face. Commander Elijah Kane, now wearing the insignia of an admiral. To the galactic hegemony, he said, his voice calm but edged with steel. 6 months ago, you murdered our representative while she extended the hand of friendship. You believed this would frighten us into submission or isolation. You were wrong. The transmission showed images of massive shipyards in Earth orbit, of fleets unlike the primitive vessels the hegemony had observed earlier. These ships were sleek, deadly, incorporating technologies the Council had believed were centuries beyond human capability. For decades, we suspected we weren't alone, Kane continued. We prepared accordingly, developing technologies in secret, maintaining a facade of lesser capability. What you saw of us was what we wanted you to see. Vorax watched in growing horror as the transmission revealed the true extent of humanity's military power, not the fumbling steps of an infant species, but the calculated readiness of a civilization that had long prepared for a hostile universe. Protocol Nemesis is not merely retaliation, Kane explained. It is reckoning. You judged humanity without understanding us. You feared our potential rather than welcoming our contribution. Now, you will witness that potential unleashed. The transmission ended with a simple statement. We are coming. Within days, reports flooded in from across hegemony space. Human fleets had appeared simultaneously at 12 major council worlds, bypassing defense systems using technologies the hegemony had thought impossible for such a young species. The attacks were surgical and devastating. Military installations, shipyards, and command centers reduced to rubble, while civilian areas remained untouched. On Celaris, home of the Merc Collective, the entire orbital defense grid was disabled in minutes by invisible infiltration units. On Jeru Prime, the hegemony's largest military academy, was evacuated before being systematically destroyed by weapons that somehow phased through its shields. Most shocking to the Council was the human approach to warfare. Despite the provocation they had suffered, the humans took extraordinary measures to minimize civilian casualties, even as they dismantled the hegemony's military infrastructure with terrifying efficiency. They could be exterminating us, whispered Councillor Zell of the Merc, yet they choose precision. Why? To demonstrate control, replied Councillor Thava. To show that their restraint is a choice, not a limitation. The hegemony fleet, scattered across 1,000 worlds, attempted to rally. But humanity had studied them thoroughly. Each counterattack was anticipated, each strategy countered before it fully deployed. It became clear that humans had been observing the hegemony for decades, learning their tactics, analyzing their weaknesses. 3 weeks into what was being called the Nemesis Campaign, High Consul Vorax summoned an emergency session of the Council of Seven. How? He demanded, pounding his fist on the ancient table. How could they advance so quickly? How could they hide such capabilities from our observers? They didn't just develop technology, said Councillor Thava quietly. They developed differently. While we built upon established patterns, refining what we already knew, they explored branches we abandoned millennia ago. Their neural technology, added Zell, the recorder Captain Chen used. Our scientists have analyzed it. It's unlike anything in our archives. They've integrated synthetic and organic systems in ways we never considered. And their quantum communications, said another counselor. Instantaneous across any distance. No wonder they coordinated so effectively. Vorax's scales had faded to a dull gray, a sign of extreme stress in his species. Can we stop them? The silence that followed was answer enough. 3 days later, the human fleet arrived at the Hegemony Council station itself. Thousands of ships, ranging from nimble fighters to massive dreadnoughts, surrounded the once imposing structure that now seemed fragile and exposed. A single shuttle approached the docking bay, escorted by fighters. When the airlock opened, Admiral Elijah Kane stepped onto the station, accompanied by a delegation of grim-faced human officers. In the council chamber, they stood before the Seven, now reduced to 6, as one had fled to unknown space. High Consul Vorax. Kane addressed the Draketh directly. Earth has a message for you. If you've come to accept our surrender, Vorax said, attempting to maintain dignity, be aware that the hegemony spans thousands of worlds. You cannot hope to occupy. We have no interest in occupation, Kane interrupted, or in your surrender. We've come to establish terms. A hologram activated in the center of the chamber, showing the current state of the conflict. Hegemony military assets neutralized across dozens of systems, their once mighty fleets reduced to scattered, ineffective remnants. Humanity could continue this campaign until the hegemony exists only in historical archives, Kane said. But unlike you, we do not destroy what we fear. We are offering one chance for a new relationship. The terms were clear. The Council of Seven would be dissolved, replaced by a galactic congress where all species, regardless of technological development or age, would have equal representation. The hegemony's practice of guiding younger species through enforced technological suppression would end. All species would be free to develop according to their own paths, bound only by restrictions against genocide and aggressive warfare. And if we refuse? Vorax asked, though he already knew the answer. Kane's expression remained unchanged. Then humanity will do what is necessary to protect itself and other emerging species from your tyranny. I don't believe I need to elaborate on what that means. The Draketh's ancient pride warred with his survival instinct. You would reshape a galactic order that has maintained peace for 12 millennia. Peace for whom? Kane countered. For the founding species, certainly. But how many others have you contained as you attempted to contain us? How many potential allies and friends have you sacrificed to maintain your dominance? From the delegation behind Kane, a new figure stepped forward, Exorision, one of the species long subjugated by the hegemony. We have observed, it said in its musical voice, how humans treat those they encounter. They seek connection, not control. They offer cooperation, not submission. Many of us would prefer their approach to yours. Vorax realized then that humanity had not just been fighting the hegemony, they had been liberating its suppressed members, building alliances, offering a different vision of galactic society. You have one standard day to decide, Kane said. Accept restructuring or face dissolution. Captain Chen offered you friendship. Remember that when you make your choice. 20 hours later, the Council of Seven, minus one fleet member and with Vorax notably silent, voted to accept the human terms. The galactic hegemony would become the Interstellar Congress, with all member species granted equal status and rights. As the documents were formalized, Councillor Thava approached Kane privately. You could have destroyed us completely. Why didn't you? Kane looked at the alien thoughtfully. Because that's not who we are. Not who we choose to be. Captain Chen died offering peace. The best way to honor her was to create a peace worth having, not just for humans, but for all species. I did not understand your kind, Thava admitted. I believed Vorax's fear was justified. Now I see his error, and mine. He feared your potential for destruction. He should have recognized your potential for transformation. 1 year after Captain Mira Chen's execution, a new structure orbited Earth, the headquarters of the Interstellar Congress. Representatives from over 300 species gathered for its inauguration, including many that had been deliberately kept isolated from galactic society by the former hegemony. At the center of the main assembly hall stood a memorial, a life-sized hologram of Captain Chen, continuously cycling through her final words. Earth will remember. But it had become more than a statement of vengeance. It was a promise that humanity would not forget the lessons learned, the alliances formed, the responsibility that came with power. It was a reminder that humans had entered the galactic community not just as another species, but as catalysts for fundamental change. In the observatory deck overlooking Earth, Admiral Kane stood with representatives from a dozen formerly suppressed species, watching shuttles arrive with new delegates. Was this your plan all along? Asked the Sarisian representative. to remake galactic society. Kane shook his head. We just wanted to join as equals. The rest evolved from necessity. A fortunate evolution for many of us. The alien observed. Kane turned his gaze back to the blue-green planet below, thinking of Mira and her vision of humanity's place among the stars. We're adaptable, he said simply, echoing her words from that first fateful meeting. It's what humans do best.